Welcome back to the children's garden. Here we are at our main entrance to the children's garden. You can see we've got a lot of green things coming up. This here is our daylily. We have many different kinds of daylilies at the Botanic Garden, and the ones in this section are typically our kind of a buttery yellow collection. So this is where our buttery yellow daylilies are. And as you move a little closer down, you see these rounded leaves with the kind of crinkly. Those are hollyhocks. This is our first year growing these in our display. We actually planted those last fall. So they were a favorite of the rabbits around here, but we managed to grow a few that didn't get eaten. So we'll see if those bloom this later in like May. Then we've got our main ribbon, beautiful violas, some lemon lime thyme that actually smells a little bit like Sprite or 7-Up. You see our beautiful leafy parsley here. This was also a favorite of our rabbits, but it will also be a favorite food of the eastern swallowtail butterfly later this year when they emerge and lay eggs. So that's one of the main reasons why we grow the parsley. We have some more quince, more daylilies, more parsley, some beautiful hellebores here. These flowers actually bloom in January, February, March. Some of our varieties bloom earlier than others, some later. And they like it in the shade in the summer. They are definitely a full sun winter, full shade summer plant. And now you're entering the Wonder Walk, which is one of my personal favorite areas. We have our bridal veil spireas here, the white shrubs as a backdrop for everything. Our beautiful shark fin pattern designed for us by Trey Fromey, our landscape designer. And we're moving into our bulbs. Plenty of hyacinths, lots of tulips showing color at this point. Our display is a little later than all the other bulbs here, so ours will probably be blooming for at least 2 or 3 more weeks. The color pattern this year was these beautiful, bright, hot colors to complement the shark fin idea of like a hot day at the beach. So if you see it from above, you can see the triangle patterns that we made with our bulbs. So that means that we dug out each shape, placed each bulb by hand, covered it all back up, and repeated until every bulb was planted. There are around 8,000 bulbs in the children's garden display this year, but that is only the bulbs that are in this annual bed display. We have many bulbs that are permanent that live here all the time, that are perennial, and those are not counted in that number. So next we're headed to the sensory garden. Things are beginning to wake up in here. This is one of our later areas of the garden to wake up. You can see that we have beautiful irises here. This one is a rebloomer. That's a beautiful dark blue. We have some dianthus in the background, this kind of gray-green with the flower tops. That will have a beautiful pink flower here in a couple of weeks. We've got grasses. We have bee balm. This one is a beautiful purple in about a month. We've got some onions, which are a favorite of school groups to smell because they think they smell terrible, but really they just smell like a delicious hamburger. We have our crinum that are waking up. You can see these are last year's leaves. We actually, when we let the crinum over winter, we just let all of it die with the frost and then leave a mound over the plant to keep it insulated over the winter. So in the springtime when they're ready like this, you can see the green, we just clear out all these old leaves, and then your crinum are ready for spring. Crinum have actually done really well for us in this garden, so we would highly recommend them in your home landscape. So now we're leaving the sensory garden, and you can see the spring giant. One of our neat features here in the children's garden. And then we have some blooming shrubs here. These are Lindara Solicita. So this is a Lindara genus, but it is Solicifolia because the leaves are like willow leaves. So Salix is the willow genus, and they have really narrow, long leaves like this. So this plant is named after a willow tree because its leaves are very similar. So Lindara Solicita. And it has these beautiful, vibrant green blossoms on it right now. It is a favorite of pollinators, and it is also a host plant for some native butterflies in the fall. And if you actually look at the giant's ear, one of his curls behind his ear, you can see chrysalis on it. So these were fritillaries. I believe they were variegated fritillaries. And all of those little, like, white, I don't know how to describe them, teardrops, contained butterflies last year. And actually we've got one of our cutest friends here. You can see one of our tree frogs hiding in the crevice of our giant. And this particular tree frog, we've seen him before. And then there's a chrysalis right next to him of last year's butterflies. That frog appears quite often on our giant. So if you look carefully when you're visiting, you can find a little tree frog hiding in the cracks waiting for nightfall. So if we go this way, we will continue our tour in front of the giant. As you can see, the giant is in full swing. The water is back on because it is not winter anymore. No more freezing weather, at least for now. And it fills our garden with a beautiful noise of water running. We've got our Willow Coppice here. These willows have actually been in what we would call bloom for several weeks now, but these are actually catkins, and it contains pollen. You can see all of the rest of these willows are in full bloom. And these catkins are very ornamental and is the reason why we have them. Many willows have much smaller catkins, and these are beautiful and fuzzy. These greener willows you can see are a little farther ahead. They've got lots of leaves on them. This one is a willow called rubykins. When the catkins first emerge, they are a very brilliant red. As you can see now, they've been out for quite a while, so they're just more of a green, but rubykins. And next we have one of our favorite butterfly plants. It's still sleeping. This one is a Cephalanthus. I believe it is the cultivar Sputnik. And the butterflies love this one in August, July, when it's really hot outside. Next we have some beautiful grape hyacinths. These are called Ocean Magic, and the bees especially love these. If you ever see a bee on a grape hyacinth, it just sticks its face into the flower, and then it cleans the pollen off like a cat cleaning its face when it's done in there. It's a beautiful thing. Now we're going back towards the musical instruments. You can see right here we have some very stark trees. These are some of our willows. We just recently trimmed them back. We are coppicing these to look like whomping willows from the fabled Harry Potter story. And in order to do that, we train them every year. And our goal is to limb up the tree trunks and push all the growth into the very top of the tree. So we will keep everything clean up until here, where the new growth will flush out, and it will make those beautiful giant whomps like on the whomping willow. So we'll head back over here towards the tree fort, one of our favorite areas in the garden. Along the way to the tree fort, we have some more beautiful daylilies. This is where I have put many of our kind of a pinkish, pink with like yellow throat daylilies. And then we have some beautiful hibiscus that are still asleep, and some butterfly bush that is looking pretty good. We have mixed results here with butterfly bush because it's not quite dry enough. So we think that may be one of the reasons why we aren't as successful. This beautiful or otherwise tree, however you want to describe it, is one of our beautiful bark specimens. So you see its yellow bark. This is actually a box elder. Let me check the variety. This one is called Winter Lightning. So Acer negundo Winter Lightning, and we grow it because its color is so beautiful in the winter. So one of the ways we keep its color, you can see the main trunk is kind of a dull brown gray, and these newer branches are yellow. The way we do that is we trim back to the trunk every 2 to 3 years to keep this nice fresh yellow growth, because we love this bark. So farther on up the hill, we've got our beautiful blue grape hyacinths. These were actually planted not in 2019, but in 2018. And we've been very impressed with these. They have naturalized beautifully. They have a beautiful flower display. They've been blooming for about 3 weeks, and they look like they'd last at least 2 more weeks. Another favorite of our honeybees, collecting nectar and pollen. Honeybees really like flowers that come in volume. They want to visit 100 flowers in a square foot rather than 100 flowers all over the place. So we're on our way up the tree fort, and we have found a beautiful patch of Malvaviscus arboreus, variety Drummondii. These have beautiful red flowers. They attract hummingbirds, and they're also a huge attractant for yellow sulfur butterflies. And these will wake up a little bit later in the year. They really like it hot. It's also known as Turk's cap. We've got some beautiful daylilies mixed in here, and if you look closely, you see my shadow. These are some Baptisia that we've planted back there. You can see one right here too, and they are just emerging. They should be blooming in the next couple weeks. And then you can also see our beautiful oak forest. The trees behind the trees in the tree fort and then the forest behind the tree fort are original, and they were not planted by us. They were growing here when the garden opened. So you'll see our beautiful oak grove in the tree fort, a visitor favorite spot, a nice cool place to cool off in the summer. You can also see beautiful vistas of the children's garden and of a main lake from up here. You can also see these green trees here. Those are some of our early bloomers. It's also known as the sassafras tree. If you scratch the bark, it is very beautifully scented. And then as we look towards the lake and the terraces, you can see everyone else working away. You can see some more of our beautiful bulbs. The abelia, glossy abelia, coming to life, that beautiful chartreuse. They had experienced some wood rot because they are outside in the elements, and they are currently in the studio with Clayton Koss, the chainsaw artist, and he is repairing them and preparing them to return to the garden. More of our beautiful natural areas. And now we're leaving the tree fort. Just in the shade over here along the railing, we've planted some new things. Some more of our Hellebores. These are a little bit less ahead of the ones we saw in the entryway. These are just sprouting. So we're looking forward to seeing those bloom in the next few years. And then these here are our Epimetheus. They have these beautiful, as you can see, very delicate flowers. It is a very tough ground cover with these beautiful little flowers, and it's also known as bishop's hat because of the shape of the leaves. But as you can see, they're experiencing their first spring flush and looking great right now. So if you were to visit the garden in this exact place in August, it would be full of butterflies, and you'd be able to hear the hummingbirds buzzing you over your heads, fighting for territory and who gets the most flowers. So we're leaving the tree fort. You can see the giant again in the background, the spitting animals. We're headed into the meadow. The meadow actually just received a haircut. And all of our grasses are nice and short right now. We've been doing a lot of work in here as the plants that are planted here often make seeds, lots of seeds, and plant themselves wherever they feel like. So this year we have done some what I would call major renovation and cleaned out some of the more prolific plants so that some of the more delicate or special plants could really thrive. And actually back here we have some fennel. This is our bronze and green fennel. You can see the bronze and the green. And we planted these last year, another one of the host plants for the eastern swallowtail, which we should have caterpillars in the next few weeks on those. It's a very popular caterpillar plant. We've got some more of this beautiful chartreuse abelia. You can see some of our lilies popping up. These actually, we're expecting to have a nice bloom this year. Last year they were new, so we didn't have too many blooms that you could see, but this year should be a good show. We've got some more tulips in our amphitheater area. We placed the hyacinths right near the edge so that you could get a good smell of them. So hopefully next year you all will be able to appreciate that. You can see these plants in the meadow are a little slower to start. Most of the plants in the meadow really like it hot. So we haven't really reached the point in the year where they look great. These are our freshly hat-racked cypress. So check back in a few weeks to see the fuzzy green growth on those. This is our Hummingbird Walk. As you can see, there's lots of things out here floating about. Our honeysuckles are very close to being ready to bloom. And we have a member of the staff out here that is a big fan of hummingbirds, and he is ready to see one. So we have all the flowers that we can grow in order to attract hummingbirds to our garden. One of our closest to bloom honeysuckles is over here. You can see it has beautiful red blossoms. You can see that they're actually open. So we are ready for hummingbird business. We need to put the ad out in the classifieds. Hummingbirds can hang out here anytime. And then our aspen are actually also blooming. These are their catkins. The catkins have been out for maybe a week and a half. So this is the first sign of their spring. And they'll have beautiful aspen leaves here in a couple of weeks. And now we're back onto the family terrace. You can see some of our other honeysuckle that's growing on the handrails. Our beautiful violas looking great right now. We've got some kale also looking divine. That's a beautiful red boar kale. It's very cold tolerant, so it does well in our containers. And we've got some more honeysuckle. It looks like we've got some blooming. This is a beautiful yellow variety. The bees, the butterflies, and the hummingbirds all love it. And then you can see our bulbs again. We've completed the tour and we're headed back out.